The forest stood silent, shrouded in an unnatural stillness, as if it were holding its breath. Sunbeams struggled to pierce the dense canopy, casting long, eerie shadows that danced on the forest floor. An unnatural chill hung in the air, sending shivers down my spine, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I ventured deeper, each step filled with growing unease, my senses heightened to every sound and movement. The woods held a strange allure, a magnetic pull that drew me further into its depths, despite the fear gnawing at my insides. A chorus of unseen creatures filled the air with their eerie symphony, a haunting melody that seemed to echo from all directions. It was a symphony of rustling leaves, snapping twigs, and haunting cries, each sound amplifying the sense of dread. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched, followed by something unseen, lurking just beyond my sight. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic rhythm against the silence of the woods, each beat echoing in my ears. Every creak of a branch, every gust of wind sent my pulse racing, heightening the tension with each passing moment. I pushed onward, driven by a strange mix of fear and morbid curiosity, unable to turn back, compelled to uncover the secrets hidden within the unwelcoming woods. The deeper I ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. Each step forward felt like a descent into an abyss of uncertainty. The air grew heavy, thick with an unseen menace, as if the very essence of the forest was alive and watching. It was as if the forest itself was closing in, trying to swallow me whole, its branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Whispers seemed to dance on the wind, just beyond the realm of understanding, teasing my senses with their elusive presence. They were fleeting ethereal sounds like voices from another world, echoing through the trees. I couldn't make out the words, but their tone was undeniably menacing, sending shivers down my spine. They seemed to taunt me, to mock my fear, as if the forest itself was aware of my presence and relished in my terror. My breath caught in my throat, and I fought the urge to run, knowing that fleeing might only lead me deeper into the unknown. The forest floor was littered with decaying leaves, their once vibrant colors now faded to a sickly brown, a testament to the passage of time. The smell of damp earth and rotting wood filled my nostrils, a pungent reminder of decay and death, making the air almost unbearable to breathe. I stumbled over gnarled roots, hidden traps in the fading light, each misstep a reminder of the forest's treacherous nature. I had been following a barely discernible trail, but it had vanished. I was hopelessly lost in the heart of the woods. Panic welled up inside me, threatening to consume me. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the stillness. I cursed myself for venturing so far from the familiar path. The sun was sinking lower in the sky, casting the woods in an even more sinister light. Darkness crept in, amplifying every sound, every shadow. The whispers on the wind grew louder, more insistent. I spun around, searching for the source of the voices, but I was met with only silence. The feeling of being watched intensified, sending shivers down my spine. I was certain that something was out there, lurking in the shadows, its eyes fixed on me. As darkness enveloped the forest, the temperature plummeted. The air grew bitingly cold, seeping into my bones. I pulled my jacket tighter around me, a feeble attempt to ward off the chill. But it wasn't just the cold that made me shiver, it was the feeling of unseen eyes upon me, watching my every move. I could feel their gaze burning into my back, sending a wave of primal fear through me. I quickened my pace, desperate to escape the suffocating darkness of the woods. The whispers followed me, growing louder with each step I took. They seemed to be closing in, surrounding me with their unseen menace. I could feel my sanity slipping, my grip on reality loosening. I was losing myself in the heart of the woods. Just when I thought all hope was lost, I saw it. A faint glimmer of light in the distance. It was a beacon of hope in the overwhelming darkness, a promise of safety and warmth. My heart soared with renewed determination. I stumbled towards the light, my legs heavy with fatigue and fear. As I drew closer, the light grew brighter, revealing the outline of a structure. It was a small, wooden cabin, nestled amongst the trees. Smoke curled from its chimney, painting a picture of warmth and life. For a moment I hesitated, unsure if I could trust my eyes. Could this be real? Or was it just another trick of the forest, a cruel illusion designed to lure me deeper into its grasp? But the cold was biting, and the whispers were closing in. I had no choice but to take a chance. The forest was closing in, and the night was growing colder by the minute. I approached the cabin cautiously, my hand hovering over the handle of my hunting knife. Each step felt heavier as the shadows of the trees seemed to reach out, trying to pull me back. I knocked on the rough-hewn door, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound echoed in the stillness, amplifying my anxiety. After an agonizing silence, the door creaked open. The creak was almost deafening in the quiet of the night. Standing in the doorway was an old man, his face etched with wrinkles and his eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. His gaze seemed to pierce through me, assessing my intentions. He looked at me for a long moment, as if sizing me up before stepping aside and beckoning me inside. His movements were slow, deliberate, and filled with a sense of caution. The interior of the cabin was small and sparsely furnished, but it was warm and inviting. The walls were lined with shelves holding various trinkets and old books. A fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting a warm glow over the rough-hewn furniture. The flickering flames danced, creating shadows that played across the room. The old man gestured for me to sit by the fire and offered me a steaming mug of something hot and sweet. The aroma was comforting, a blend of spices and herbs that seemed to calm my nerves instantly. As I warmed myself by the fire, I told the old man about my experience in the woods. He listened intently, his piercing gaze never leaving my face. When I was finished, he nodded slowly, a knowing look in his eyes. "You're lucky to be alive, son," he said, his voice raspy with age. "These woods are not what they seem. There are things out there, things that are best left undisturbed." He paused, his eyes flickering towards a dark corner of the cabin. "I've seen things in these woods," he continued, his voice barely a whisper, "things that would chill you to the bone. Creatures that are not of this world, shadows that move with a life of their own." His words sent a shiver down my spine. A figure in the shadows. I wanted to dismiss his words as the ramblings of an old man, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that he was telling the truth. The look in his eyes, the fear in his voice, it was all too real. As if to confirm my fears, a floorboard creaked upstairs. The old man's eyes widened in terror. He grabbed my arm, his grip surprisingly strong. "They've found us," he whispered, his voice trembling with fear. He blew out the lantern, plunging the cabin into darkness. The only light now came from the dying embers of the fire, casting flickering shadows on the walls. I held my breath, listening for any sound that would betray the presence of the intruder. Then I saw it. The chase. A fleeting glimpse of a figure, tall and gaunt, silhouetted against the faint moonlight filtering through the window. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, as if it were gliding rather than walking. Before I could react, it was gone. The old man grabbed my hand and pulled me towards the back of the cabin. "We have to go now," he hissed. He fumbled with a bolt on the back door, his hands shaking. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the front of the cabin. We burst out of the back door and into the night. The old man led the way, his frail body surprisingly agile as he navigated the treacherous terrain. We ran through the woods, the sound of our pursuers' heavy footsteps close behind. A desperate plea. I could hear the creature's ragged breathing, smell the stench of decay that clung to it. We stumbled through the undergrowth, branches whipping at our faces. The old man stumbled and fell, crying out in pain. I stopped and tried to help him up, but he waved me away. "Go on without me," he gasped, his voice weak. "Save yourself!" I hesitated for a moment, torn between my own survival and the old man's desperate plea, but the sound of the creature's approaching footsteps made my decision for me. I turned and ran, the old man's cries echoing in my ears. I didn't look back, but I could hear the creature's triumphant roar as it reached its prey. Alone in the darkness, I ran until I could run no more, my lungs burning and my legs screaming for mercy. I collapsed beneath a towering oak, my body racked with sobs. I was alone in the darkness, hunted by something I couldn't understand. The whispers were all around me, taunting me with my cowardice. I closed my eyes, trying to shut out the horrors of the night, but the images of the creature, of the old man's terrified face, were burned into my mind. I don't know how long I stayed there, huddled beneath that tree, but eventually, the sun began to rise. I stumbled out of the woods, a broken man. I never went back. The woods hold too many dark secrets, too many terrifying memories.